I'll just admit your classmates. All right. Okay. What if ganito? O sige, of course, dun sa scenario natin kanina, all of the three, A, B, and C, will be liable for robbery with homicide. Okay. What if ganito? Ganito siya. Kunyari, si C, siya lang yung umakyat, siya lang yung nagsaksak ng pandesal dun sa matanda. Tapos, without the knowledge of B, A and B na nasa baba. What would be the crime? Robbery with homicide pa rin ba? Yes or no? Same scenario. Ang problema lang, hindi alam ni A tsaka ni B yung nangyayari sa taas na meron palang namamatay na dun sa taas. Ano ang crime? People.
Robbery with the homicide pa din po.
Very good. It's still robbery with homicide. Now, the next question is, who will be liable for robbery with homicide? Will all of them be liable or only C?
Only C, ma'am.
Only C.
Kasi hindi mo pwedeng paghiwalayin yung robbery at homicide, correct? Look at the exception to the exception. Diba? General rule is the act of one is the act of all. So equally liable. Except if the co-conspirator committed some other crime which is not part of the intended crime. Exception to the exception. Anong ibig sabihin ng exception to the exception? Balik ka sa general rule. Correct? The act of one is the act of all pa rin. If the act constitutes an indivisible offense. So meaning to say, applying this exception to the exception, A, B, and C will still be liable for the crime of robbery with homicide because robbery with homicide is an indivisible offense. It's a composite crime or what we call a special complex crime. Are we clear? Are we clear? O, sige, paano naman kapag ganito? Let's go back to the earlier scenario na may rape. Okay. A, B, and C, ang plano lang nila magnakaw. Si C, pag-aakyat niya, nakita niya, maganda yung kasambahay, ni-rape niya. Okay? Ngayon, let's twist the facts. Umakyat si A tsaka si B kasi natatagalan na sila kay C. Ang tagal niyang lumabas, so umakyat sila. Nakita ni A tsaka ni B na ni-rape na ni C yung kasambahay. Nakuha? So may knowledge na. Tapos wala silang ginawa. Sabi niya, tapos ka na, o sige, tara na. Who will be liable for the robbery? All of them. Now, who will be liable for the rape? All of them or C only?
All of them, ma'am.
In this scenario, they already knew about the second and separate crime. Will they be bound by the conspiracy if there is knowledge? What do you think?
No, ma'am. There's na, hindi sila bound.
Sige, ganito siya. You have to take note that if there is already knowledge of the second and separate crime, you will be bound by the conspiracy, by the original conspiracy. So meaning to say, in that scenario, A, B, and C will be liable for the rape, even if they did not touch the woman. Why? Because they are still bound by the conspiracy in the robbery case, tapos meron na namang second crime. Nakukuha? Okay. So that's our rule. Now the question now is, when is a co-conspirator freed from liability? Paano ako ma-free from that kind of liability? First is, if the person or the co-conspirator disassociated or detached himself from the plan before an overt act was commenced, then you are free from the conspiracy. The second is this, and this can be applied dun sa rape case. If the person or the co-conspirator prevented the commission of the second or the different or related crime. Kasi di ba, if you have knowledge, you're bound by the conspiracy, you will be liable, except if you prevented the commission of that second crime. Nakukuha? If there's proof that you prevented the commission of the second crime, then you will be freed from liability. So, tignan natin. Ano ang dapat ginawa ni A at ni B para hindi sila makasuhan or hindi sila madamay dun sa rape case? They should have what?
Dapat pinigilan niya.
Intervene po.
They should have prevented the commission of the second crime. That's the only way they can be freed from liability. Otherwise, dalawa kaso mo, robbery, may rape ka pa. Kahit hindi mo,
May tanong po ako.
sila Miss Credito.
Ma'am, what if po pinigilan po nila pero si C, tinuloy pa rin po niya yung pag-rape?
Ang kailangan lang, you try to prevent. Okay? You try to prevent the commission. Of course, hindi naman yung prevention na, huy, tama na yan, anong ginagawa mo? Hindi yung ganun. Dapat you physically prevented the second crime. Meaning to say, dapat ginawa mo lahat para ma-prevent yung second crime. Pero tinuloy niya pa rin, wala ka na doon. Ganun siya. Okay? So that's your conspiracy and proposal. That's your Article 8. Do you have any questions? May tanong? O sige, last na to. Let's go to Article 9. Grave, less grave, and light felonies. Okay. For your grave felonies, you have to take note, you have your capital punishment, afflictive penalty, and a fine of more than, or a fine of more than 1.2 million. If that's a grave, less grave felony, correctional penalties, fine of 40,000 to 1.2 million. Pag light felonies, light penalties lang yan. Okay. Tingnan natin. What is a capital punishment? What are afflictive penalties? What are correctional penalties? And what are light penalties? You will refer to another article in the Revised Penal Code, Article 25, for these principal penalties. Kasi, when we say capital punishment, that's death. When we say afflictive penalties, you have reclusion perpetua, reclusion temporal, perpetual or temporary absolute disqualification, perpetual or temporary special disqualification, and prisión mayor. For your correctional penalties, you have prisión correccional, arresto mayor, suspension, and destierro. And for your light penalties, you have arresto menor and public censure. Kaya tignan ninyo ha, pag grave felony yan, capital punishment or afflictive penalty yan. Kaya, magfo-fall ka lang kapag grave felony ka, capital punishment or afflictive penalties. Kapag less grave, under correctional penalties ka lang. Kapag light felonies, under light penalties ka lang. So, ganun siya. Okay? Okay? Kunyari, homicide. Homicide, attached penalty ng homicide is reclusion temporal. Okay. Anong klaseng felony ang homicide? Grave, less grave, or light?
Grave.
Grave.
Grave po.
Grave. Bakit? Kasi mag-fall siya under afflictive penalties. So, dun mo madedetermine kung ano siya. Grave ba siya? Light ba siya? Less grave ba siya? Depende yan sa penalty na attached dun sa crime na na-commit. Okay, what else? Next meeting, we are going to start your circumstances affecting criminal liability. This is your GEMA already. Justifying, exacting, mitigating, aggravating, and alternative circumstances. We are going to finish justifying and exempting circumstances next meeting. Okay? Nagkakaintindihan tayo? Take note. Under your justifying circumstances, you have self-defense, defense of a stranger, defense of a relative, etc., etc. I want you to note all of the elements under self-defense. Self-defense as a justifying circumstances, what are the elements? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unlawful, aggression, blah, blah, blah. Yung mga yan. Defense of a stranger, what are the elements? Defense of a relative, what are the elements? Avoidance of greater evil or injury, what are the elements? Performance of duty, exercise of a right, what are the elements? So lahat yan, kailangan may elements. Mas maganda kapag isabay nyo na to sa pag-ayos nyo ng notes ninyo, pagsulat nyo ng notes ninyo, kasi mahaba-haba. Okay? So we are going to finish justifying circumstances and exempting circumstances next week. Do you have any questions, people? Miss Mahia? Yeah? Sige lang. Kanina, nag-check ako ng attendance kanina. Yes. Ay, sige. Sino yung mga late na zero?
Ma'am, ako po.
Mr.
Pero hindi pa ako late.
Ma'am Dikang po.
Ma'am, di lang po ako natawag.
Miss Dikang nandito?
Yes, ma'am. Dikang po.
Ang gawin nyo na lang, you write your names in the chat box. Family name first. Tapos, alisin ko yung zero scores nyo. Sige lang. Kaya nga eh. I'll open the exam now. You tell them to take the exam today na, as in now. Para maka-answer tayo ng exam ninyo next meeting. Miss Lumagas, last warning to ha. If you enter my class late next meeting, I'll give you 0 kapag wala ka pa. Okay? Miss
Yes, ma'am.
Kiod, Mr. Wais.
Ma'am, concern.
Go ahead.
Nung nasa number 70 ako, ma'am, nawala ang signal. Kaya di nakatuloy, ma'am.
Gusto mong mag-retake?
Yes, ma'am.
Sige. You retake, what's your name? Vicmon ABCD. Okay.
Tuginay, ma'am.